Great.
We're all
All
good.
right. Say it again, Jesse.
We are good to go.
Okay, thank you. All right, then welcome everyone. This is Manhattan Community Board 4's Bylaws Task Force. And it is June 12th. And we're hoping that this is going to be one of our last meetings before we vote on our bylaws to send to our executive committee. But we have been tasked as a group with reviewing our bylaws that hadn't been reviewed in a couple of years to just see where they might need to be revised or updated to make sure that they're clear and reflect all that we do. And so my name is Katie Stokes. I am one of the co-chairs of this task force. Why don't we go around real quickly and just introduce ourselves and say what other committees for the Manhattan Community Board we serve on. So again, my name is Katie Stokes, and I also serve on Arts, Culture, and Education and Street Life Committee, as well as the Health, Housing, and Human Services Committee. Woo, what a mouthful. All right, Bob, over to you.
Hi, I'm Bob Benfato. I'm a public member. I'm the co-chair of this working group, and I sit on the Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use Committee. I guess, Wendy, you're next on my screen.
Great. Wendy Gonzalez. I am on the Arts, Culture, Education, Street Life Committee and the Business License and Permits Committee.
Frank?
Hi, Frank Hall-Zubiak. I'm co-chair of the Business Licenses and Permits Committee and a member of the Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use Committee.
Bert?
I am Bert Lasman. I am co-chair of the Business License Permits Committee, and I'm on the Chelsea Land Use Committee.
Yay. And Roberta?
She's coming on.
Say it again. Ooh.
She was switching from one screen to the other.
Except now I'm on multiple devices.
Yeah, you were echoing.
Hi, Roberta Barnett. I am on Housing, Health, and Human Services and Waterfront Parks and Environment, as well as this task force.
Yay, very good. All right, and then we have a couple other task force members or working group members, but I think they aren't able to join us right now. Alice and Candace, at least, but hopefully, or maybe they'll join a little bit later. Okay, so just for some logistics before we get talking about some substantive issues, we had talked about maybe today being able to go through the whole document and then sort of vote on whether or not we approve to send it to the executive committee. I actually feel like we're not quite there yet. I think that we all probably need time to go through it one last time to make sure everything's included that we wanted included. So I do feel like it would be helpful if we could meet one more time before we vote it out to them. I know that Monday, is that right? Is a holiday next Monday, is that right, Jesse? All right.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, would it completely mess up the world if we had a meeting, a day later, like next Tuesday at 4 p.m. or something?
I wouldn't be able to make it. I'm
All
away
right.
from the 20th to the 25th.
All right, hold on. Let me pull up my calendar here real quickly. You said you're away from the 20th to the 25th?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and we want it to the executive committee, remind me again, Jesse, by the 23rd?
20, yeah, I guess. I guess Jesse wants to send it out on Friday before the
Yeah, I
Monday.
mean, it'd be great if we could send it out on Friday.
Okay. So, how weird would it be? Could we try for this Friday? That gives us 4 days to. Is there anybody on this call right now who couldn't make a call on Friday?
I can make a call on Friday.
Yeah, we're talking 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah, if that works for folks.
That works for me.
Yeah, that works for me. I could do that.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's go ahead and say, and Jesse, does that work for you scheduling wise to?
We will make that work.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
If
Our
it's
goal
just,
is not to make
if
you
it's just a final hello and vote, it shouldn't be
exactly.
too much time.
So to then review, the goal would be today to talk about any sort of last substantive issues that we have. And then to commit to look, all of us reading the whole document that Roberta sent out last night and making any last minute changes to it, comments on it, so that then we can decide on Friday if we're good with all of the final stuff, and then we vote on Friday at 4 p.m. Are we good with that schedule-ish? Yeah?
Sure.
Great. And then Roberta, you're going to have to walk me through, but we can do it separately, you know, some technological challenges. But for example, when I was looking at your document today, I made like a couple just little edits, but then realized that they're not showing up as edits. I'm just changing the document, but it's not reflecting as a change.
Yeah, it's a Google document, so it just updates automatic.
But
no, that's not true. You simply would have to have it as, instead of editing, suggesting. Previously, I had everyone as a suggest or a commenter.
Gotcha.
And so this way, any changes on the old document were captured as suggestions that would be accepted or rejected.
okay.
And if you would like to revert to that, in the top right-hand corner, there is a sort of stylus or pencil icon.
Yep.
And you can click that and you'll see a drop-down or a sort of pop-out menu that says editing, suggesting, or viewing, and you can change your status to suggesting. And that will allow your edits to be made as suggestions instead of, traditional edits like you would see in another document.
Okay. All right, great. Then I will do that. And then why don't we all try and do that, right? Let's make any last changes or whatever suggested.
Suggestions. I see the pencil. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Right,
So
under suggesting.
Yeah. I have a technical question while we're on that. Every time I read this, the nerdy copy editor in me finds endless consistency issues, chiefly like capitalization and use of terms and things. Do you want me to put all those into the Google document? Do you want me to send you a hard copy markup? What do you prefer?
So Frank, why don't you go ahead and make those changes, but not in suggestion mode? Just go ahead and do it in
Edit mode.
Right? And it's funny, I only did like a tiny handful of those today, but exactly like sometimes public meeting is lowercase, sometimes it's uppercase.
Right. Yes. And sometimes there's a period and sometimes there isn't a period.
I don't want to bore everyone here, but are we going to go with like maximum capitalization, like board meeting, board member, all initial, all have initial caps?
I think we should. Let's just be consistent and let's go with maximum.
Okay. Yeah.
And Frank, can we put you in charge
choose one
of
and do it all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank, we're going to put you in charge of being our consistency master. How's that?
Okay.
And you,
All right.
again, do not do it in suggestion mode. Just go ahead and make those changes.
But I will do anything that is at all substantive. I will do in suggestion mode, but not this technical consistency stuff.
Great.
Okay.
Yep.
And Roberta, I can go back and forth in the Google document, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, thanks.
And it's with that same menu in the top right-hand corner. Editing will make it so it's not a suggestion, and suggesting will make it as something we can accept or reject.
Got it. Thanks.
And just so you all know, I mean, it sounds like we have this worked out, but if you ever are just curious around changes that others have made, if you go to File and then look at the version history, you can see like what edits people have made.
Oh, nice. Okay. Then one little thing I'm just going to mention. It's funny. So under public session, when we're talking about our board meetings, it says, we're going to have a public session. And it actually right now it says, and it's at the beginning of the meeting. Well, frankly, it doesn't always start the meeting. Sometimes we do some other things first. So I actually changed the language today, but it didn't show up as an edit. But to just say, we're going to do it in the meeting, like near the beginning or something. But so anyway, I just changed it so it's not now having to start the meeting because we haven't been consistent with the language in our bylaws, right? So that's one of the issues. There was also a question was raised to me, and I think Frank, you might have seen it as well. Question was raised about the nominating committee. Right now, or no, maybe Bob, maybe you got this email. So the question was, it doesn't specify. One could argue that it leaves it to the nominating committee under the nominating committee language about whether or not the nominating committee is making recommendations to the board. Like, let's say there are 3 people running for position. Does the nominating committee just interview them and then just say, yep, we've interviewed them. Here are the 3 people who are running? Or does the nominating committee come out and say, we've interviewed them and we recommend to, this person for that job? And Jesse, you seem to have a thought or a suggestion. Or a
Yeah,
question.
I mean, I'm sure Bob can give us his perspective as well. I think it is purpose, to my understanding. I can't speak to like when this was ever created in the bylaws, but I think people like that flexibility of whether it is up to the nominating committee to come out and say, listen, we've interviewed all 3 of these people. They're all legitimately, they're all appropriate. That's all we wanted to make sure that they would be able to be appropriate, and responsible executive officers. And that's what our job, that's our role, or saying, what, we interviewed both have high qualities, but we think this would be the best slate going forward would be candidate A over B, basically. I don't think my time we've ever had where the nominating committees made that recommendation. But I think they actually relied on, I'm going back to the example with Bert and Ernest. Bert and Ernest were both running for the same seat. I think they clearly qualified, and it was up to actually they gave a minute or 2 explanation as to why they thought they would be the best candidate, and that really was the deciding factor for the rest of the board to vote.
I had it years ago where the committee went ahead and chose between 2. And the one who wasn't chosen actually by the committee is the one who won in the end.
Interesting.
But I always thought it was good to just leave it to the committee, because every nominating committee usually starts off by arguing what they should do. There's always one person there who thinks we should decide, otherwise why are we here? And another person who says, well, we shouldn't decide, we should just make sure they're okay. And then there goes the first hour of the first meeting.
Okay. So certainly the way the language is currently drafted,
It's just silent.
Yeah.
And I think
does
it's
say
good.
that they will
I think it's
report
good.
to
Yeah.
the. It
It's good
says
for them to debate it among themselves.
Okay.
I mean, it was.
Does it work in your favor or not in your favor?
I don't know. The one committee I was with chose Chuck Spence as vice chair and not Corey Johnson, but Corey Johnson was the one who became by 2-1 vice chair. So.
All right. Well, that's an important lesson. All right, good. So we're all comfortable leaving the language as is about the nominating committee, it sounds like. Yeah. All right. And then I had received a question from a board member to just give some thought or have some discussion on the board about sort of the possibility of people who have sort of a connection or a special interest. Obviously, we know that people have to vote P&E if they have to vote P&E. But the question is, but could they be involved in the discussion at the committee level if they are connected in some way to the issue? And we do allow people to be to participate at the committee level, ask questions or make their argument for or against a topic. They just can't vote on it, right?
Yes, and they have to say that if they have an interest too. They have to say at the beginning.
They have to
Voting,
clearly
I'm gonna-
identify their
Yeah,
interest.
exactly.
Well, I'm just trying to remember. So they have to like say, yeah, I'm whatever. I
Yeah,
work there.
like
I have an opinion.
I'm on a bid, so occasionally one of the board members who's a developer, ends up going before the land use committee, I have to say that this person is on my board and that I can speak to her, but I can't. I actually don't speak to her, but I could. I just rather not. But I won't vote. I'm a peony. I'd be a peony, and I tell everyone at the very beginning of the.
Katie, is that what you're asking? Are you referring to another scenario where, let's say, someone is, they're not directly benefiting from this, the thing that's before the board, so it's not really a direct.
Then they can vote them.
Yeah, I just want to confirm
actually,
what we're
I did see
talking about.
Clarification about this, Jesse, because I wasn't entirely sure, what was behind the question, but I was told that it's that it is a question of, if people are P&E for voting, shouldn't they also basically be unable to participate in the discussion?
No.
And I said, obviously I would raise it with this group and we can discuss it, but it seems.
As long as they're not presenting to the committee.
Yeah, that's the difference. They can't present to the committee. You can't be, if you were an attorney, you wouldn't be able to be the attorney of record for a liquor license presenting in front of your own board. If you were, if you were an architect, you wouldn't be able to present in front of your land use committee in terms of a client, anything along those lines. If you are P&E, let's say in Bob's example, or maybe Wendy's example, like if it's something like Google related, right? Like she would be P&E for the vote, but she could certainly be included in the conversation. If let's say it was like the only kind of space where you want to find that ground is like, again, is that presenting thing, where is it being perceived as, right, like Bob discloses, Wendy discloses, and then they start talking as if they're presenting still, or like that if they're presenting. You don't want that. You want it to be like, well, we want further information on this. Well, Bob or Wendy have further information, and they can provide that information to the committee, and that's helpful. So that's the way that's the way it's being.
Yeah, and that's usually how it happens. If I do ever speak, it's because someone actually on the committee asks a question that I'm the one who can answer.
Right.
Yeah. And this is explicitly in the bylaws on page 4, the whole procedure. It says the person shall state the nature of the conflict, shall not share any discussion, and shall refrain from voting. But
wait, did you just say it says it shall not share in the discussion?
No, shall not share any discussion.
Chair the meeting.
Chair of the committee.
Oh, chair, sorry.
Like if Bert or I had a conflict, we couldn't run the discussion at a BLP meeting.
Right.
Yeah, but that's all it prohibits. It does not prohibit, just says shall state the nature of the conflict in speaking to the issue, which clearly implies that the people who can speak to the issue.
Yeah, true. Well, so I guess I think the reason it was raised with me was to bring to our group here was because they were saying, should we maybe all tighten up that language and say you shouldn't even be allowed to participate? But I, for one,
yeah, no.
Why is it giving you the giggles, Jesse?
Well, I mean, it's just not allowed. I mean, that's just going beyond the scope of, there's just nothing to hold them to besides our own bylaws. But
right. But I would also argue, like, we all bring to our board participation some sort of background, right? And I would think that would actually, as long as we're open about it.
That's why you have to disclose it.
Yeah. But I think it makes it a richer discussion. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've never participated in a discussion specifically about BRC, but I'm a board member there. And if there was a discussion about, obviously if BRC made an application to the board or something, I obviously wouldn't vote. Sure. But if there's a discussion about what BRC is doing, and
we would want to hear from you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Even when there's no professional gain, for members of Check Pads or Save Chelsea, sometimes they will bring unique discussion points to a committee, and trying to limit that, I think, becomes a rather slippery slope, and again, leads to a less rich discussion overall.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I think we all have various affiliations and yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of not completely clear understanding of what triggers the conflict, and it's like a lot of people are going to get into a conversation about bike lanes. There's going to be someone speaking strongly for them, and people get all kind of like, concerned or, worried that, oh, well, does that person run
On a bike?
or own an advocacy group that's for promoting bikes? So technically, like, aren't they in the same, while they're not financially making money off the bike lane themselves, but any progression of the bike lane in their district is a sign for them, that they're agents, that they're organizations.
That's why they're there. They're advocating for bike lanes.
Yeah, so exactly, that you have to sort of explain that to folks. So
Okay.
I can understand the confusion, but
Yeah. Okay, good. Then it sounds like we're okay with leaving that language alone and not making any changes.
There's no way to police it. Someone's going to ask someone a question, they're going to answer it, and then someone's going to yell, "You're in violation of community board force bylaws." And then someone's going to say, "But that's not the law, though. I can talk to it."
Yeah. Speaking of somebody yelling about the topic, what did we agree? I know we decided to remove the language about a parliamentarian, but then I think, did we say that we're still going to do, like, we're going to add something about, but it'll be governed by Robert's Rules of Order or something?
I asked the question whether we wanted to replace that with some directive, and I think where we all fell out was refer to Robert's Rules of Order. So it's not a direct person, but it's it's the same thing as like saying the hyperlink to the charter and saying like, this is where people need to go. It just means you won't necessarily always have things resolved, in that moment, because the whole point of the parliamentarian is that in the moment of that meeting, he or she are saying, no, that amendment goes forward and this one doesn't, or this has to be voted on first, or something.
You table it while someone goes on their phone and finds
Yeah, exactly.
Rules of Orders.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thinking of that, now we're probably going to need to get a link to Robert's Rules of Order, which I don't think is free.
No, I don't think it. I think you can. I don't think it's that much. I think you can buy a PDF of it, and then
Right.
that
has a searchable component to it, and then you can just.
Oh, that's handy. Okay, so I don't think, does anybody recall any other sort of outstanding issues that we needed to discuss?
I don't have outstanding ones, but I have a couple things that I think go a little above the technical.
Okay, go for it.
So at the bottom of page 6, the terms of officers. And I think I'm just reading this wrong, but it says each officer shall serve for 1 year beginning January 1 and terminating on December 31 of the next calendar year. I keep stumbling on that next. Does that make it 2 years?
So maybe if we just move that language of the next year.
Yeah, why would you say beginning on
or
January 1 and terminating on December 31, period?
Well, didn't we have a discussion about the length of the terms?
we did, but we decided we're still leaving it 1 year.
We're leaving it 1 year, then the next doesn't belong there then.
Right, so let's just stop at December 31.
Were they ever 2-year terms? No, not that I know.
No, I think that was just a mistake.
Well, but I think, I know, obviously, you know what they mean, right? Like you're electing them, say, in 2023, but they're not starting until 2024. So it is the next year. It's like a month later in the
Next year from the election, but not the next year from January.
When they begin.
So, yeah, let's just
What
get
makes
rid
it
of it.
confusing is says it begins on January 1.
Yeah.
And it's on December 31 of the
Probably
next.
because years ago, the term began in another month. It was changed to calendar year at a later date.
Yeah.
Ended. So it probably made sense. I don't remember what month it was that they used to get elected, but it probably made sense the next because the way it fell in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Because December 31st probably was always there, even in the old version. It was just where it began. So they just.
Yeah.
All right.
I apologize because you probably talked about this in the last meeting I met, but on page 8, where we have the form of address for chairperson, we have I don't know if we changed the pronouns to he, she, or if that's the way it was. Is that what we want in these evolving times, or I don't know I don't know how to answer that myself. So that's why
I think we discussed that once, but I don't remember what we decided.
He,
I
she,
thought we'd said that it was he, she, they.
You see
Okay,
that?
well, that's not what's in here now, so I'll put that on my list.
Okay, so
Added them
so
in.
and we'll leave it up to you, Frank, to make it consistent throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on, but
Okay.
Wendy, what were you saying?
Yeah, I added them in as suggestions on page 8.
Okay. I just
So-
printed the thing without suggestions.
Yeah,
so
I
I've
just
been
did it this
Okay.
morning.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
and I think it was only on page 8 that I found them.
Yeah,
Anything I
that's
do with
the
suggestions.
only place
so-
I saw it, although,
No other place. Okay.
but I'll do a search for he and she and see if it comes up.
Okay.
And the last nerdy thing is the position secretary or co-secretary?
It's, yeah, and in fact, I did see that once or twice and I changed it, but it needs to be consistent throughout. The position is co-secretary. There are
Yeah,
two
Because there's two of
co-secretaries.
them.
So every place it says secretary, it should say co-secretary.
Yeah, and I think that, again, for consistency purposes, it should be uppercase C and uppercase S.
Yep. All right. That's all I got.
Yeah. But I do think that there was, right in front, there was a Roberta, I think you'd made a comment somewhere about how we have to pull the language about the public session up to, have it as a responsibility for the first chair. Does that ring a bell, Roberta, about something you would have
First
added?
vice chair. We had that discussion.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. So I think we decided to do it. We just haven't done it.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm happy to go pull some language and move it up front, but then I thought seen a comment, Roberta, that you'd said something in the document, but maybe that was an old comment just about like, we just need to grab it and move it. So I didn't know if you were planning on doing it, or I'm happy to.
I will make sure that that gets moved under the first vice chair section.
Yeah, just adding it as a responsibility. Yeah.
And we do mention, remind me, I don't have it in front of me, that I forget, is it the first, the second vice chair, responsible for the budget task force?
Yes.
That's the
I think that is-
second.
yeah.
Second. So
Yeah,
we can
second.
specify that. Okay.
I think that is in there, but you're right. We can double check.
It is, they call it the budget coordinator with the following responsibilities.
Yeah.
This is on page 9.
Lovely. Okay. Any other nerdy questions, Frank? We love a good nerdy question.
I know that's all I have. Thank you for humoring me.
Anybody else? All right. So then just to review real quickly, because then I think we can end early today. So we all agree that we're going to go into the document that Roberta sent out last night, and that everybody except Frank, we're going to put ourselves in suggest mode. And we're going to go through it to see if there's anything else that jumps out at us. And then Frank has the very important ultra nerd responsibility of going through the document and just cleaning things up and making it look like.
Consistent.
Yeah. And if anyone notices any consistency problems, you can shoot me a text or an email if you want, and I'll put them on my list to straighten out.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay.
And
then, Jesse, you're going to send out a note to, or you're going to send out a link to us so that we can meet again on Friday at 4 p.m.
yeah. Yeah, I created the event in Zoom already. I'll hit the invite buttons again so you guys get them right now, and then we'll do a normal blast out, so it's official.
Great.
Roberta, I don't use the Google Docs a lot. Can multiple people be sort of editing it at the same time?
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Look at us. All right. Anything else anybody wants to ask, share, opine on before we leave our meeting today and regroup on Friday?
Oh yeah. Do we have a deadline should we have a deadline for getting in comments in case people want to read the whole thing before
Good idea.
Friday?
I don't know. Do we want to say Thursday at 6 p.m. or something, so that gives people a Thursday evening or Friday to look at it.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I just have a technical question.
Okay.
When I make my suggestions, or Bob makes his, or Wendy makes hers, are we all making it on the same document?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, I just,
we'll be able to see each other's comments.
And
Okay.
you
I think
can see who is making what because it
Yeah,
is.
your name gets attached to it, so it'll say this is your suggestion.
oh, okay, okay, just question out of,
Totally, yes.
yeah, out of ignorance. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So good luck to all of us who are not very tech savvy. But I think
Email
we're
me
really
if
close
you
now.
have any questions. I'm happy to offer tech services.
Great. Great. All right. Then thanks, everybody. And I will talk to you on Friday.
All right.
Adios.